London is an astonishing city. Its long and fairy-tale-like history reveals itself in everyday life, in its architectural masterpieces, in its cultural and social diversity, and its unbelievable stories. With its 2000 years of history, from a small Roman settlement to the capital city of the largest empire the world has ever seen, London oozes history from streets big and small. Big Ben is not the name of the tower. It is a very common mistake, but the Big Ben is actually not the name of the iconic tower in London. Big Ben is actually the name of the clock in the tower. Even locals nowadays refer to this place as the Big Ben Tower. The tower is located at the northern end of the Palace of Westminster in London. From 2012 onward, the object has been named Elizabeth Tower, but in the past, the tower was known as the Clock Tower. It may surprise you, but London is the smallest city in England. The city of London covers only 1.2 square miles and has a population of around 7,500 residents. As such, the city of London is actually the smallest city in England. Greater London, on the other hand, is an English region that encompasses surrounding towns covering 606 square miles and having a population of over 8.7 million residents. Speaking of history, the smallest statue in the world was built in London. A statue displaying two mice eating a piece of cheese is known as the smallest statue in the world. It is so small that you have to pay attention or someone must point you to it. The story behind it is quite interesting. History says that the statue was built to remember two builders who were engaged in a fight after accusing each other of having eaten their meals. Both of them died, and later it was understood that the mice had actually eaten their meal. With reference to diversity, over 300 languages are spoken in London. There's hardly any other place in the world more diverse than London. Expats come from different nationalities, share a large proportion of its population, which enumerates around 8.7 million residents. They practice their original tradition and communicate in their native language. Due to unbelievable diversity, it is estimated that there are over 300 languages spoken in London. Talking of London, what does the name London actually stand for? Some standing theories state that the London was first built by the Romans around 50 AD. The origin of its name also has a puzzling history. During history, London used to have different names including Londonium, Ludenwick, and Ludenberg. The most widely accepted explanation is that the name London is derived from the old Celtic word Londinos, which means brave. The Houses of Parliament are the largest palaces in the UK. One of the many architectural landmarks that London is proud of is definitely the Houses of Parliament, also known as the Palace of Westminster. Crowned as the largest palace in the entire country, the building was first built at the beginning of 11th century to accommodate the King of England. Unfortunately, a fire in 1512 destroyed a large part of it, and another fire in 1834 caused more severe damage. The only medieval structure to have survived those times are the Westminster Hall, Jewel Tower, the cloisters of St. Stephen's, and the chapel of St. Mary Undercroft. Red buses are for sure the most typical thing that your mind associates with London, especially as seen in movies. The iconic vehicles did not always have this color. Once upon a time, each of them had a different color, with each color signifying a different route. In order to stand out from the competition, the largest bus company, London General Omnibus Company, decided to paint their buses red in 1907. Ever since, London's buses have been red. London also houses the highest building in the European Union. Located in the district of Southwark, central London, the Shard is the tallest building in EU and the fifth tallest in all of Europe. Built in 2012, the Shard stands almost at 310 meters or 1016 feet long. The amazing skyscraper has exactly 72 habitable floors. Talking about towers, the London Tower used to have 6 ravens. A long time ago, Charles II ordered the guards to bring 6 ravens to the Tower of London because he thought that they would protect the fortress from falling. They even had an extra raven in their palace in case one of the 6 ravens flew away. The superstitious belief remained long after the decision of Charles II. 6 people died during the Great Fire. One of the most horrible events in the history of London was the Great Fire of 1666. A large part of the city was covered in flames as around 70,000 London homes were completely wiped out by the fire. However, despite its catastrophic effect, there were only 6 verified deaths from this terrible event. Many argue that the number of casualties has actually been higher, but the fire had destroyed everything, including the dead bodies. Speaking of mysteries, the police never caught Jack the Ripper. The identity of Jack the Ripper, London's most notorious serial killer, has never been discovered. Authorities and mystery solvers since the killings have suspected a number of different people, including Prince Albert, Lewis Carroll, and Queen Victoria's doctor Sir William Gull. The London Underground could have been water-based. When the London Underground was first proposed, engineers suggested filling the tunnels with water and using barges to float people from station to station, or getting an army of horses to pull the carriages around in the dark. Evidently, they decided to opt for trains. The Queen lives in Buckingham Palace. Although she has many other royal residences, the Queen still sometimes resides at Buckingham Palace. When she's home, you can see her royal flag flying from the flagpole. This flag, which is called the Royal Standard, must only be flown from buildings where the Queen is present. The London Eye was not the first big wheel in London. In fact, the Great Wheel earns the title. This wheel was constructed in 1895 for the Empire of Indian Exhibition. It was then sadly demolished in 1907, 91 years before construction started on the London Eye. Did you know London is technically a forest? The amount of greenery and green space you can enjoy in London is enormous. So much so, in fact, that the density of trees it has per square mile qualifies it as a forest as per the United Nations definition. It has more Indian restaurants than Mumbai, a city in India. Even though every restaurant in Mumbai is an Indian restaurant, London has so many excellent eateries that it far outweighs its culinary rival. If you want a great curry, you're better off going to London than India. Black cab drivers are familiar with every street in the city. In most countries, you may need only a driving license and some sort of taxi registration to be a taxi driver. In London, however, they are on another level. It actually takes years to become the driver of one of the British capital's famed black cabs. Part of the 2 to 4 year training involves memorizing every single street in London. That's it for this video. Stay tuned for more London facts coming your way. Let us know which fact caught your interest in the comments down below. We'll catch you in the next one.